Oh. Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech. I am exercising. Whoa, I just got a notification. For this live feed. No way. That never happens. Maybe everybody else will too. I don't know. But I'm exercising my freedom of speech. That's my first and foremost. I gotta say shit like that because goofballs will report shit and then I have to deal with it. So if you know the truth or are a truther or know a truther, comma, please have them come fix my situation. ... So yeah. I'm real disheveled at this point. I was saying the other day I feel defeated, and somebody said not defeated, depleted. You know, it's a weird thing, but it's I don't even know anymore. Like I'm so disappointed with everything, and I'm so disillusioned by everyone, and they're just the nonsense that's everywhere, from the religious idiots to the truther idiots. I mean, which are generally, you know, they're one and the same a lot of times. I mean, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating how dumb people are. It's so frustrating to do my feed like I do and say, look, anybody come on here and prove me wrong. I welcome anybody. That doesn't mean I'm just going to bring anybody live. But if you're right, if you have the right stuff, you should be able to come on here and say the things that entice me to talk to you. Because the reason I don't just let anybody live is because there's a lot of jackasses out here. So I have to be, vigilant, diligent about who I just let come through and spew their nonsense. And it's weird, and it's such a great way to weed out, call screen, if you will. Because the best thing to do is to tell people no and watch how they respond. If somebody responds to your no, like they say, hey, put me on your feed, and you go, well, no, not yet. Why don't you talk to me first? Why don't we get to know each other before I just, because it's not like if you just called me on the phone and wanted me to talk to you, I would just sit there and talk to you, right? So all you have to do is entice me. All you have to do is say something that makes me think you're interesting and not some dumbass. And it never happens. Never. But I'm getting all this, I go through my feed and it's where most people would think, oh man, look at all these people spreading truth or whatever. I don't. I see the water's getting more and more diluted and polluted at the same time. There's more and more of it. More and more water, but there's more and more pollution in the water. And it's just so hard to see through anything anymore. And I don't know, man. You see the one of my biggest, I don't even know what to call it anymore. It's weird. It's like it's like, I'm Hobgoblin. I'll say it this way so it doesn't sound like I'm being a dick. I'm Hobgoblin and he's Peter Parker, and we're friends in the friendly realm, but then as soon as we go to work, we're adversaries. And we should be on the same team. But it's so hard for me to I don't support anybody anymore. It's so hard to, because everybody's so they're so controlled. They're so duped. And I know what makes you think you know different? And it's the fact that I pretty much think I don't know, or what I do know, I consistently put out. And nobody ever makes me look dumb, contradicts me, whatever it is. Joe called me a truther. I've been one for years. I'm laughing at peers. Just pushing the fear. And that's what it feels like, man. And it nobody ever, I don't know. Like I say, my one buddy, Kenny, I wish Kenny would come on here, because I'd love to talk to Kenny. And Kenny will show up periodically, but then he won't, like, again, why initiate if you're not willing to go further in the conversation? Like, for me, I'm not looking for people to pat me on the back and tell me I'm right. I'm looking for people to strengthen my argument. And the way you strengthen my argument is you challenge me. So, you know, if I had somebody that would challenge me, that would be fantastic. In a decent way, you know, not just, oh, I'm just here to challenge because I'm just going to, no matter what you say, I'm going to challenge it. That shit's ridiculous. I don't need that. Nobody ever, they say my one buddy, Kenny would come on. And if you're on the, Sophie, if you're on the watch party, come to the main feed. Alicia, what's going on? Chuck, what's going on, guys? I don't know, guys. It's also... Jessica's calling.
It's an answer.
Hmm?
Oh, you can't answer it, can you? Can you answer?
No, I couldn't.
I don't have her phone number.
Oh.
Do you have her phone number? I mean, I have it on.
If she calls back, I'll read it to you real quick. Here, get that off. Just push that. Get the phone ready. Maurice, what's up, Maurice? How you doing? She's home, right?
I don't know. She might be at work. I don't know.
I call you, she says.
Okay, so we're hit reply.
There you go. Sorry about that. Cochran and Crow. You know, it's just weird. I don't know. I'm good, but I'm having an early joint in Scotland. Nice work. I wonder what Scottish weed's like. I wonder if the weed is different. I wonder if you know, if I'd be like, whoa, this is definitely Scottish weed. Have me talking sideways. And I don't know if I'm doing the right accent. I know I always mix them up, Irish and Scottish, and I combine the two. But that's okay, because I'm from here. And I'm dumb Americans. Anyway, I don't know, guys. Like I say, bring the thing up. Whatever thing you think it is. Whatever. The transgender agenda. That's one of those big things right now that really has me bothered. And that's like one of the things with Kenny that has me so bothered. Is Kenny is pushing hatred and doesn't quite realize it. The agenda is what he's doing. Because I never hear about any sort of transgender transgressions outside of the truther repeatedly exposing the same fucking things and not real stories and just like it's crazy to me. The whole thing, like everybody, there's so many people hung up on the Arthur episode. Did anybody else see that Arthur episode? Sweetheart, did I tell you I saw that? Oh, she's outside. Did you guys see that?
So here's what IKEA is doing. 3 types of dressers that won't tip over. One has an open drawer. Once you have that open, can't open the other one, so it won't be.
Oh my God.
And you can only open the others when it gets attached to the wall. There's another that won't open at all unless it's attached to the wall. And then the third has 2 front legs, and the back has to be attached to the wall because those are like the hind legs. And obviously,
oh, my furniture fall down on me. I opened too many drawers. That's not my fault. That IKEA fault. Burk. You kidding me, right? This is great. These Goyim are so stupid. They don't know any better. These stupid Goyim. This is great. God, I hate this fucking shit. God, I hate this shit. But what was I just saying? Damn it. What did I just ask? What was I asking my wife if she saw? Fuck. Oh, what was I just saying? God, I hate when that happens. That's why I hate when I do this shit. Because when I get distracted, it's hard because you get distracted and you start thinking about something else. What the fuck was I just saying?
robots and nanotechnology. Okay. So he's starting an organization. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God, robots and nano. What? It's like 2015 or it's like 2005. It's like 1970s, right? We don't know robots.
Do the little things you can do and don't use a plastic straw. Start there.
Ooh, that's gonna be controversial. We got a paper straw here.
I know we do. No, we changed. Yeah. Don't use a plastic straw. And there's good news for the feline friends who are watching. New York.
Oh my God. Outlawing cat decline. Good.
Listen, I'm not a cat person because I'm actually allergic to cats.
That'd be controversial too.
I'm actually allergic to cats. I'm not necessarily a fan, but I do think that this is important. In New York, it now goes to Andrew Cuomo's desk. Lawmakers passed a bill yesterday to fine veterinarians up to $1,000 for doing the operation. I used to think,
good.
Because I'm not a cat person, that it was sort of like cutting their toenails and that you don't want them to scratch.
Good. Good. Some episode. Damn, some episode of what, Dean? God damn it. I was asking you if you saw something and you didn't hear me. What the fuck was it? Hey! No, you have to worry. You have to work with them.
They're trainable.
Fuck, what was I saying?
Yeah, you see what she said?
What?
The vet explained to her that it would be like cutting your fingertip off at your last knuckle of each finger.
Yeah. No, we're fucking crazy. Humans are crazy.
They pull the nail out and then they crush the bones at the end of the fingertips.
Listen.
Nails don't regrow.
We, as Americans, cut our babies' dicks. We circumcise our babies. Our human babies very, very unnecessarily get their dicks cut off. And it's not just a little tiny, it's not just excess skin. See, that's the thing is, especially with chicks, they don't give a shit. But it's not just excess skin. It's I don't remember. Craig, what's up, Craig? Oh, this is just crazy. Look at that. Such bullshit.
The fate of the continent and the outcome of the Second World War hinges on the success of one epic invasion.
This is Bob Trout speaking. We started this particular broadcast at 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern Wartime. Allied troops began landing on the northern coast of France this morning.
Awful.
Strongly supported by naval and air forces.
Awful. What's up, Craig? Brad, what's up, guys? Fuck. I wish I remembered. I know it was something. I was going to ask you. It was something. I don't remember.
Jessica needs me to take her to Gracie's first little basketball swim that she's cheering at. It's at 9:30 in
Word? Did you go get the thing for me? Did you get the thing? You get the thing? The thing? I got the stick. The stick. You got the stick? It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm sorry. Told you this week's gonna be tight. Not my fault the shit just fell in my lap like this. I gotta take advantage. I can't miss. I can't.
fall in your lap. You were looking.
No, I really wasn't. I wasn't looking for this thing.
You just fell on to offer up.
No, I would. Well, a lot of times I'm looking because I'm setting prices and shit. But like the other thing that might come through, that's something that fell in my lap. And then the one thing's from last week. There's 3 cards, 3 things that they're there, and it's like I couldn't believe it. So I have to take advantage. Would you in the UK? What?
Would you live?
Oh, would I live in the UK in a heartbeat? I would love it.
Why?
Because I want to experience that. I want to experience the other side, and I'd love to see the United States. Like, okay, so when I wait, when I lived, no, it's not. It's not. When I lived when I moved to California, and I would come home. Those look terrible. They went yellow. And I would come home. It was always like I was coming home. And it was like, I didn't really, it wasn't, it was different, but I don't know. After being away for 3 years, and it had been a minute since I had been home. It had been maybe a year since I had been home. I went home. I came home, and everything was different. And I had acclimated to California. The way that people, like when I heard people talking, I was like, wow, you guys sound crazy, because the Michigan accent was so strong to me. It was really crazy to see how much different it was. The temperature, the air, the way things smelled, the way all the things that I noticed that I had never noticed before, because it was, I don't know, it's just different. I was still acclimated to Michigan in some regards. I hadn't fully gone Californian. So to be able to live in the UK, where you would pick up the accent, you would start speaking, and then to see how to get through all the politics and then truly see, because we see the UK as like you said, that's just the United States over there. We have no idea. We just, the only thing we know is what we've seen in movies and then what the news tells us. And, I don't know, it to me it seems like a hard place. It seems like it's very similar to where we live.
Right. Why would you want to?
Because the culture and everything's so different. I mean, if I'm, it's the... Yeah, but you don't experience things on a vacation. When you're on a vacation, it's different. When you live somewhere, it's different. Like when we went to Hawaii, we lived in Waikiki Beach and we lived in Honolulu. We lived in
But see, now you're talking. Even though it's part of the United States, you're still talking somewhere tropical. It's
right,
like
but it was
a different country.
But what I'm saying is, it wasn't until we had been there for a few weeks did we even start venturing
Right.
off of the tourist path. So vacations provide you a glimpse, a very distorted glimpse of what things are like in places. And Hawaii, Hawaii is weird. Like I am all about the I don't know, the freedom for Hawaii. Like, how many of you do you know that Hawaii is it's the result of an absolute takeover? It was an unwilling fucking takeover. They did not want the U.S. they didn't want to be the 50th state and all that shit. It was
Is that what they technically were? The 50th?
yeah. And it was, so Hawaii was its own kingdom. It was the kingdom of Hawaii. They had
a king.
They had kings.
Yeah.
And when Hawaii was acquisitioned, was annexed, they had a queen at the time. So she was the queen of Hawaii at the time.
Oh, they didn't have a king there?
No, he had died or something. But the United States, they wanted the sugar and the pineapples, and
Yeah, because we have no other place we could grow pineapples.
no, they didn't. Pineapples were
Florida,
they didn't have them. They didn't have them, and they didn't have the science that they have now. So no, Hawaii was Pineapple City.
Take the seeds and plant
But
them.
they're a really hard thing to grow. They're not easy to grow, I guess. But yeah, they wanted it, and then they also wanted the tourist trap. They wanted the vacation paradise, to be able to have a place where they could go play. Let's see. Sorry, guys. I was watching RT's stream of the Putin and Chinese presidents meeting in Moscow. Next minute, RT headquarters is on fire. What? What? Wait, what? I love watching World War II stuff. I always have. I had so many family members in it. Grandfather on my father's side killed in action. Normandy cut in half by a MG4. Didn't even get off the landing craft. Grandfather on my mother's side was based in Pearl Harbor when it happened. His ship was destroyed. He survived and swam back onto shore. My grandfather's dad was a POW by the Germans. He was also at Hamburg. And do they talk about it with you? Or is it one of those things?
Send to the address. I don't know.
Let them know it's not running. That's why we have it so cheap. We have it so cheap because the catalytic converter has choked it out. It's not starting. But that's the only thing wrong with it. If you have a flatbed and a couple $100, you'll have a car that'll last you forever. Huh?
You can get flatbed. The wheels turn.
Okay, well, if you can tow it, then yeah, I guess. I live on an island colonized by the British, LOL. We don't really care about Britain. Again, now see, the story of Australia just don't make no sense. So 234 years ago, 235 years ago, something like that, Australia was founded by the British. And what they say they did is they would send their criminals to Australia as like a prison colony. So I can't help but wonder, if you're only sending the criminals, which were generally men, I can't imagine women were getting sent. You're sending boatloads of men to an island. How is it 235 years later that island is a first world powerhouse? And much of that island is like, how many of you realize that Australia is about as big as the United States? They have 3 time zones, and they're fucking crazy. And the whole Australia just don't make no sense across the board. I just don't believe Australia is where they say it is, what they say it is, all of it. And you know, what's funny about that is, like, I don't say that lightly. I don't say that just like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. You know, I realize how crazy and stupid that makes me sound. My grandmother, if I told my grandmother these things, she'd call the police on me. She'd think I was crazy. It doesn't get me respect saying these things. It doesn't get me views saying these things. If anything, it turns people off. Because they've been so well programmed to turn off people like me. The UK is very different. And not sure if you know, my dad is American. I've been to the States 4 times. However, I don't think I can live in the States, especially today's times. Right. But you know what's funny? I was saying this yesterday. So they're making this huge deal about the Queen. Can I hit that? Queen and the and Trump being there and all this other shit. The monarchy that's been in power forever and that will be in power for a very long time. President Trump is a 4-year blink of the eye. He might get 8. He'll probably get 8. I mean, he didn't win the first time, so even if he doesn't win the second time, if they want him to be president, he will be. But you know, they don't give a shit. Yeah, they'll just play along with this fucked up character that they knew was going to be in office long before we did. The Queen had her hand in that whole Trump ruse. Trust me, if you don't think it's all a scam, you're being scammed. Back in the 80s, it would have been a dream come true, but today's world, I wouldn't even want to leave my house. However, I lived in New Zealand for 12 years where my kids live now. Yeah, that's where I want to end up. I want my kids and my wife and my family. I wish we lived in New Zealand. Australia'd be great, but New Zealand would be better. Yeah, they did, and my grandfather told me something about being a POW in Germany as a kid. I didn't remember much, though. I was young. He showed me his service rifle and uniforms and medals. I do remember. I don't know. He obviously didn't like much talking about it. No doubt about it, but, you know, like, okay, so if I wouldn't say this about my own family, I wouldn't say this about yours. You know what I mean? But, like, so the story of my family is that my mom's father was a German Nazi concentration camp survivor. He was Polish. He was a you know, the story is they got some sort of message somehow that the males were supposed to meet in town for some sort of meeting, inspection. I don't know. But my grandfather and his father went. His little brother stayed home. His little brother was only a couple years younger, but his little brother stayed home. And when they went, they got taken in by the Nazis. They were all told to line up against the wall. They got their faces smashed into the wall, and then they got taken into a concentration camp. And my grandfather survived a concentration camp for a couple of years, and, like, you know, there's a story that he there was a guy that got attacked by the dogs. And he was so badly hurt that he begged my grandfather to you know, kill him. And I don't know. Their stories are few and far between, but they're sort of like, I would imagine a lot of your family members that are the survivors have similar stories, right? Vanjie, what's going on? So he says, so I always thought it was strange because my grandfather would chew his food with his front teeth. And the story was that he got his face smashed into the wall. And I always was like, well, if you got your face smashed into the wall, how do you have your front teeth and not your back teeth? Weird, right? But whatever. So my grandfather gets liberated. 45, the war ends. He moves to the United States, marries a German woman who is the daughter of a German soldier who died, and a poor peasant woman, supposedly. So if the war ends in 45, somehow, my mom's born in 58, and I believe her oldest brother is 10 years older than her. It's either 10 or 8 or 10. So by either 48 or 50, my grandparents are now together, married, and have a child. And my grandfather is this engineering genius. He has patents in his name and all this other stuff. He ends up being the founder of this company that then tests military stuff. They're called Test Stack. And they test military technology. They test technology out for the military. And you just go, wait, how did you go from point A to B to C? Where did you get the education from to be able to then be the founder of an engineering blah, 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 blah? Like, the timeline's a little strange. And then, like my grandfather, his company is a multi-million-dollar company now. He obviously, my grandmother still gets a check each month for quite a few $1,000s. I don't see any of it, but my grandfather became a multi-millionaire. He worked very hard. He was always gone at work, and it was always very hush hush. He didn't talk about any of it. I don't ever remember him talking about any of it. But it was just, things were always kind of weird to me, but there wasn't any way to ask questions or get information or anything like that growing up. So, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, let's see. It's been 2 years now since my mom was interviewed. I think so. 2 years. 2 years ago in the summer, my mom and I were on the outs. We sort of mended our relationship, and she took me and the kids, and she took the family to the zoo. And we went to the zoo one day. We had a great day. I thought, holy shit, the relationship's gonna get better. Well, my mom's all kinds of fucked up. And her relationship and her situations, they have money, but that doesn't mean everything's okay. And it's just fucked up. But my mom, she kind of stops responding to texts as much, and like she doesn't sort of fulfill her end of the bargain as far as, just being there, not giving, but being there. So, things just we sort of drift again, but we're still sending pictures and stuff here and there, and I'm still kind of talking to her. So one day, I get this hair up my ass about this whole thing. And I'm looking up Project Paperclip. And for those of you that don't know, that's at the end of the war, the United States and Russia rounded up all the German scientists, engineers, all that shit, military, all the people that were possible for this amazing German machine. They rounded them up and divvied them out. And they gave them new lives in either the United States or Russia. Nobody served any time, no war crimes, knew everything. And, kind of like what seemingly might have happened with my grandfather. So then, I look up my grandfather I look up, I don't know, I just get a fucking idea. Hey, look up his name. So I look up Project Paperclip, and I go to type in his name, and it populates. Except it populates instead of Sabuda, that's our last name, Sabuda, it says Sabuda Anna. But the first name, Joseph, and all, it's spelled the same and all that shit. Everything's... So Joseph Sabuda Anna populates when I put in Project Paperclip, Jose, you know, and it populates. And I'm like, no fucking way. That's an amazing coincidence. That that with Project Paperclip is a name associated that's just like my grandfather's name, except my grandfather's name looks like a shortened version of it. And it's just a random name that's in a list of people that, you know, it doesn't give you any information about him. It just, it populates. I mean, that means it's in the system, right? So, my old, kind of sick grandmother, I go to her house and I kind of ask her about it one day. And I'm like, hey, you know, Omi, have you ever heard of Project Paperclip? And she gets this weird face like, no. What have you heard about it? And I'm like, you know, where the Germans, or the Nazis, the Americans rounded up all the Nazis and divvied them out. And she was like, no, I never heard anything like that. And like, she got uncomfortable. And it's my grandmother, so I'm not willing to poke that bear. You know, I don't want to make her upset. So I'm just like, all right, well, whatever. Let it go. So then I call my mom later, like a couple days later. And it's like 3 in the afternoon. It's like 2 in the afternoon. So she's not sauced. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? She's like, nothing, you know. I'm like, I got a question to ask you. And she's like, what? And I'm like, you ever heard of Project Paperclip? And she's like, no. She gets, like, her whole tone changes. And she's like, why? And I'm like, well, you know, Germans and this and that and blah, 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 blah. And I sort of just say, you know, the Germans rounded up this, that, and then I was just wondering, you know, have you ever thought of... And she was like, you know what? That man... She just starts going off on this tirade. And it was always weird to me. My mom, growing up, used to talk shit about her dad all the time. It was the weirdest thing. And then when he died, she acted like that wasn't the case. And that was... For me, that was such a weird thing to experience. You know, she made it seem like she hated him. But, you know, and as, you know, as an adult, I get it now, but he died when I was 19 or 20, something like that. I don't know. 18, maybe. I don't remember. But she goes, the one thing she says, you sound just like Mom's family. And I was like, what? My grandmother's family used to say things like this? Because I always thought it was weird, like, to me, you're a Polish guy in your 20s, kid, and you've been in a concentration camp for however long. The last person you're going to marry is a German girl and speak German in your house and shit. Like, he spoke German and Polish, supposedly. I never heard him speak Polish, unless he was calling... And the thing is, like, my grandfather had ham radios. Like, when I think about who he was, it was just weird. What? It was just weird, right? So my mom goes off on me. And she's yelling about all kinds of shit. And I'm like... And I'm just like, whoa, what are you attacking me for, you know? I'm not knocking the man. I have the man's name on my back. Like, that man was one of my heroes. This isn't an easy conversation for me to have, nor is it something that's easy for me to sort of look at and ask these questions. But she's yelling, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm good. I'll talk to you later. And she's like, yeah, fine. And that was the last time I talked to her. That was 2 years ago. So, any sort of questions I had about whether my grandfather was part of that, my mom definitely did not squelch or diminish or soften even slightly. She definitely exasperated that situation. And I, you know, what do you guys think? Now, I'll go back to reading the comments, because if I read the comments while I'm doing my thing, I'll get lost. All right. My grandfather was in World War II, German soldier on the Russian front. Jesus. Don't save shit. Let it out. Damn, that's brutal. I can't imagine being part. He was of Operation Barbarossa. Same way Europeans fortunately took America off the Indians. Again, see, for me, I just have a hard time believing it all. I definitely don't think the whole Native American story is true. Sorry. I don't buy that. The whole operation was a failure. It's absurdity. Absolutely amazing he survived that, though he was very lucky. See, this is where I always wonder about those things. Is that maybe they're reluctant to talk about it because it didn't quite happen. Maybe they were, you know, drugged, and or maybe, you know, or something happened, but it definitely wasn't on the scale that they said it did. And, you know, who knows? I don't know. Something just isn't. It's just weird. It's a really weird situation. I don't know. Died at 86. May he rest in peace. Every time I hear the good comrade, it makes me sad. They also migrated to Banff, Canada. Banff! Canada in 1959. They brought the captured scientists back to the United States to work for them. I don't blame them for that. The Red Army completely destroyed Germany at the end of the World War. I would have left as well. Your boyfriend's pulling for your sister. Then we get into Area 51 and reverse engineering. Once again, I'm the only one who shared. Go figure. Right, isn't that weird? How come none of you share my shit anymore? I don't understand why nobody's sharing the videos anymore. Am I supposed to do this all by myself? I'm supposed to fix all this by myself? I'm supposed to reach it? You guys know I'm censored. Why don't you help me fight the censorship? I don't get it. Like I say, I'm finding the motivation to do this daily, harder and harder to find every day. Especially then when I go through and I see all these other truthers out there, you know, posting nonsense that's doing much better. If I wanted the numbers, if it was strictly about numbers, I would change my approach. The anti-transgender bullshit. That's a huge hot button. I'll be pushing for Jesus. Jesus is the key. I wish I could do it, man. I wish I could sell Jesus. That seems like a fucking an easy pitch. Selling Jesus, you know, oh, I'm hurt, my arm hurt, and one day, me being the smart ass that I was, I asked Jesus to heal my hand, and he didn't heal it, but he took my pain away, and like, and I became a believer, and I wish I could do it, because it would be an easy sell. I could probably make a lot of money selling Jesus. But I just can't get myself to do it. Whoa. Leah, what's going on? I share your shit. It's weird that it doesn't show. It's also really weird, like so I've shared this video. So there's this weird thing that's been happening lately where it doesn't register the shares if you share it from another location. So when I do a watch party and then I share the feed from the watch party, it doesn't recognize that. Isn't that weird? I've given up on sharing the groups I'm on. I do it and only get one post approved. Sorry. No, I don't. Because you run into opposition or it's not easy for you, you want me to understand why you quit doing it? Me? Sorry, bud, but my life, my whole existence is opposition. If I quit because it was hard, or because I didn't get the response I wanted, I'd have been done a long time ago. I can't make you do anything. Invite people, do whatever it takes, but, get people in here. Break the system. The system is working against us. And I know it's weird, and I know it's hard to accept.
Oh, yeah.
But if you have a better idea of what's going on, I'm all ears. If you think you know something else, lay it on me, man. I'm so pissed off right now about my other page being blocked. 2 months in a row now, even though the last month it was the ghost block, so it was only my live ability was blocked. But I mean, do you guys get what's happening here? My dumbass, of all the people in the world, my can only reach 8 people dumbass. If I'm being censored, like, how does anybody else get further? It says only 1 share for me. Oh yeah, every day it only says 1 share lately. 1, 2, maybe 3 shares. Yeah, I'm supposed to get up every day and do it too. It's strange. And I know I'm the one that put the expectation on myself, so I can't be mad at anybody else for that. But still, it just seems weird. Like, aren't we supposed to work together? Aren't we all on Team People here? Mm-hmm. If you're not on Team People, then what team are you on? Because I'm all about Team People. It's crazy. Only 4 survived, huh? 5 survived, huh? Only 6 survived, huh? That sucks. Good thing there's round 2 and 3 coming. It's just the groups I'm in. I guess I need to expand who I follow. It doesn't matter, dude. That's the problem. We have to figure out, like, at the point where you share me to a truther group with however many thousands of people on it, and they reject the share, you have to ask what that's about. You're letting all kinds of shit pass on this page. And you're not letting this guy's shit go? What is this guy doing that's so much worse than everybody else? Other than, I'm talking about that one group we're not supposed to talk about. And when that happens, it seems like it shuts shit down. People are not into helping others these days. It's crap out here. People just simply don't want to fight the good fight. It's not their faults, though. This is the problem. Is that, most people, like, the only time I think it's your fault is when you have the option and you see it and you refuse to take it. It's one thing when you're ignorant. When you didn't know there was other options, when you didn't know there was something else, when you didn't realize there was more you could do, and that's why you weren't doing it. But at the point where you realize oh shit, you know. At the point where you find somebody that you look forward to watching daily, if you're not willing to help that person find other people, or other people find that person, because I didn't find you, you found me. You found me because somebody else shared. It's not because Facebook fucking shared it. So that's the only way we're gonna do this. This is as grassroots as it gets. There's no money here. There's nothing. I'm the anti-everything. You can't say it's racial because, you know, I'm only half of each. You can't say it's anything because I'm different. I'm not the truther type. I'm all these different things, and hopefully I provide you with, for all those people that feel like me, that feel like, what the fuck, I don't belong in any of this shit. Maybe it's because we need our own thing. They're mostly truther pages, so maybe that has something to do with why I don't get approved. Right, but you have to ask yourself again, why are all these truther pages rejecting what I have to say? Thanks, Vanjie, appreciate it. Colton, what's going on? Oh, by the way, I don't know if you all realized it, but the big 9/11 page is completely compromised and full of shit and bullshit. Of course it is. I've been trying to ask you guys this for the longest time. And it's not, I know it seems like maybe I'm jealous or something like that, but it's not I'm jealous to the degree that I wish I had the freedom. But when you look at Todd Church, and you look at me, and you look at the difference in the approach and everything, you look at the fact that he clearly watches my shit and then tries to do videos doing the same thing, and like, when you ask yourself, okay, so why is Todd allowed to have as much freedom as he has? You know, I just got blocked. My other page just got blocked because I could finally go live. The first day I could go live, within 6 hours of my live video, 8 hours of my live video, I get the notification that I'm blocked for 30 days because of a post I made a few days beforehand, and all I did was share the picture of Catholic imagery, a statue that's in front of a Catholic facility. And the post is like, hey, watch that hypocrisy, Catholics. You know, you did some bad shit. And it's the picture of the girl sitting on the tripod thing with the weights on her hands and feet, because that's what they used to do to girls. You know, and it's like, what the fuck? Now, see, look what happens. 20 shares on the video, and we pop up to 14. Makes sense, right? That's how this works. We need to work together, guys. You know? And for everybody on here, I'm not looking for you to tell me where you think I'm right. I'm looking for the challenge. If somebody thinks I'm wrong about any of the things I'm saying, that's what I'm looking for. I don't need the pat on the back. But the thing with Todd or with Christy Moreno or any of those, why are they allowed to have it? You know, my band page, the page that we're on, you know, it took us forever to get past 5,000 views or 5,000 followers. We got up to 4,500 plus, 4,700. We got up to that within a year or so, maybe 2. But then it just stalled. And it would be like every day we'd be like, well, we're getting all these new viewers, but at the same time we'd be losing viewers every day. Losing following every day. The same thing was happening on my main page. You know, I wake up one day and there's 100 less people on my following is down from 2,300 to 2,100. So what the fuck just happened? Morning. Thanks, Dean. Thanks for stopping in, guys. Appreciate it. Always appreciate it. Hey, don't forget to grab your free download if you can't be on the video. The conversation continues long after the fact. www.the-bilderberg, BILDERBERG-group.com. Free to listen to, free to download. All we ask is that you share it with people. So go there, click play. Just click play. That's all we say. Just click play. You know, I'm looking for the Trump supporters. Where are all those Trump supporters at? Where are all those truther Trump supporters? Those are the best. Where is all the opposition? If I'm wrong, it should be easy to do without being a dick. You don't have to be a monster about it. You don't have to be, nasty. You don't have to get yourself blocked, because that's all you'll do coming on here admitting you're a pedophile. And by admitting you're a pedophile, I mean asking me about the couch. Anybody out there pushing that couch nonsense, all you're doing is admitting to be a pedophile. Or at least you're one of these people. Like I say, so the Todd Churches of the world, the Christy Morenos of the world, they might not know they're agents, but they're agents. They're pushing the agenda that's acceptable. They're pushing the distraction, whatever distractions they want. That as long as you're not looking over here, the system doesn't care. So if you're pushing truther, but it's nonsense truther shit, the system doesn't care. Doesn't care. And but at the same time, when it comes to Todd, you have to ask yourself how a guy that gets busted selling meth within 4 school districts doesn't see a day in jail, and then all of a sudden pops onto Facebook a couple years ago to a huge following and doesn't seem to get the same sort of treatment I do. Ask yourself these questions. Or answer mine and shut me up. That's an easier thing, right? Much easier to do. By the way, I'm exercising my freedom of speech. So you have the freedom of speech to disagree with me. You have the freedom of speech to leave. Just don't be dumb. Don't be dumb. Just leave. If you don't like what I have to say, leave. Back to the Trump supporter thing. Where are you? Speaking of freedom of speech, they're the ones that always seem to think their freedom of speech matters, but nobody else's does. But where's all the Trump supporters at? How do we live in this country full of all these supposed Trump supporters and I never get any that come on here and make any sense? I'll get the occasional MAGA 2020 post, but other than that, where is the supporters at? Where are the people that believe the machine? How many of you believe we live on a round earth? See, there you go. There you go. The one tiny, weak ass bit of opposition I get is Rashid. What is this piece? Rashid, probably religious. I'm assuming you're religious, and I know I guess that's racist because I'm assuming you're religious because you have a religious sort of name. But usually that works out. Usually people with Muslim kind of names are Muslim. But you never know. There's Mohammeds all over the place. Jackie's not going anywhere. What, I'm not, or am I supposed to be going somewhere? Did you want me to dance? Which one is it? It's hard to understand what people are saying when you don't elaborate on what you're saying. Because, I'm the one talking. You're just responding to something. And there's probably a 30-second delay or so on this. So whatever you're seeing is quite far behind me. My town being sprayed with chemtrails every day. It's fucking ridiculous, isn't it? It's happening here. Look at the heart. There's a big fucking line right there. Getting dropped as we speak and leaving a giant shadow. That one's going to be nasty. You keep that. I keep this. Okay? Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Have fun. I should go. I should go and really scream. You better make me proud, woman.
Hell yeah. Did you see what the back of it says?
This is why we're
holding them?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Right, Brad. See, this is the proof of it.
Okay.
It's not, Facebook's not going to let it happen. But if we fight against it, we can overcome. We shall overcome. I'm amazed that people still don't think chemtrails are a real thing. This shouldn't be an argument anymore. This isn't what should happen. Wait. That's not normal. I mean, I guess it's more normal than it should be, but that's not what planes do. That plane didn't just start flying right there. Like, how does anybody think that's normal? Especially when I love you. Especially when the metro airport is 15 miles or so south. Yet all of the chemtrails, 95% of the chemtrails go west to east. And the only thing east of where I'm at in Michigan is, and I'm real close to the edge, is Canada. And then prior to Canada, about 40, 50 miles that way is Selfridge Air Force Base. Right where all the planes seem to be headed, in the direction all the planes seem to be headed, and then the occasional plane seems to come from, yeah, that's always, that's where an Air Force Base is, Selfridge Air Force Base. We never, I've seen maybe 3 or 4 in the few years I've been here, filming daily. We never get chemtrails that go north to south, south to north. Never. When we get one, it's so shocking. I'm oh my God, taking pictures. But I said, leave if you disagree with what I have to say. You know, if you're gonna be if you're gonna get upset by what I have to say, then leave. If you're not going to have an articulate conversation, leave. Look at the plumes. The plumes are always the weirdest ones to me. What makes the little plumes on the one side or on the bottom, whatever it is? I can't, you can't tell from this vantage point, but what makes that happen? That is not, if your car did that, you would take it to the shop instantly. Let's see, where's the next one? The next one should come from right over here, around this tree somewhere. So that's my prediction. We'll see if I'm right. Look at all the different harp waves in the air. Look at it all. I mean, on top of everything else that we're talking about, look at this shit. How do you explain this shit? You're a regular person who doesn't believe in geoengineering, apparently, because I don't, like, what do you think geoengineering is? How do you engineer the geo? You fuck with it like this, right? But where is everybody? I mean, what thing do you believe in? What conspiracy theory bugs you the most? You can't stand these truthers out here talking about this conspiracy theory or that conspiracy theory. Because, I might agree with you. I still think the transgender agenda is the conspiracy. It is the agenda. They couldn't really come up with a way to make people hate transgenders. So what do? They just claim that everybody hates the transgender and there's all this blah, they claim all this shit's happening, and people fucking fall for it. White people, average, typical white guy, is so quick to hate something. And same thing with young black male. He's been engineered to hate everything. Hate. It's insane how much hatred we have, and it's hatred isn't a bad thing. You should hate stuff. It's just not ever directed in the right way. Like, when people say, oh, you shouldn't hate anything, man. You shouldn't. No, I absolutely hate pedophiles. Fucking hate them. I hate rapists. I hate the royal family. I fucking hate it. I hate the bullshit that's pushed on us with the royal family. The whole bullshit lately with Trump and the royals is just so stupid. They're literally telling us, yep, and for these past few days, these hundreds and thousands, if not millions of dollars that's being spent on all of this is just, in fact, pageantry. Ceremonial nonsense. It means nothing to the Goyim. Nothing to us Goyim. It means stuff to them because they know what the fuck they're looking at. They know the importance of doing the things when they do them, how they do them. They know all that shit. We just watch and go, okay, yay. Oh, yay, Prince Harry's having a baby, yay. Does nobody think it's strange that you still don't see the royal brothers hanging out together? after it was exposed that they're probably not really brothers, you haven't seen them together very often at all, have you? I wonder why. It's just stupid. But it's what's even more dumb is that I know it, that I give a shit. Why should I, an American, middle-aged American male, why should I give a shit about these royal sponges, these leeches, these absolute piece of shit leeches? Very, very deeply rumored to be associated with the most unthinkable things. It's all a distraction. I think you're right. I think the majority of it is distraction because it's and it may even be real shit, but they don't give a fuck. They know that it doesn't matter if the people know. They're not going to give a shit. How many cases of child molestation do you think Walmart executives could have before people would be boycotting and shutting down Walmarts? Which in turn would just destroy economies because all the job loss and all that, but still they would do it. Yet the church continuously is caught and then using all your tithing money, all that wonderful money you send in, your hard-earned 10%, they use that to pay off all that child molestation bullshit. And yet I get my friends, my Kennys, who come on who are advocates, truther advocates. All these truther advocates out there mad because Arthur's promoting homosexual lifestyle. How many of you saw the Arthur episode? How many of you actually saw that Arthur episode? I saw it this last weekend for the first time. And I was shocked. Shocked. Absolutely shocked. I was shocked by how tasteful and non-threatening and just barely gay it was. Yet people lost their fucking minds over it. Alabama is losing their fucking mind over this shit. That isn't just like, again, if any of you if you haven't seen it, then you know, I'd love to hear what you have to say. But I want to hear from people that have seen it, because I don't know how many of you actually watch the cartoons with your kids. How many of you know what's going on in your kids' worlds? Oh. But the Arthur episode was so I can't imagine how does average white guy get so threatened by that? So what makes that perfect square like that? Perfect square. Here, 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 here. That is a perfect square. What the fuck is that? And then it's completely different direction than the shit around it. Look at that being created right there. Do you see these clouds just stretching out? What the fuck are we looking at anymore, people? Whether you believe in chemtrails, whether you believe conspiracy one way or another, how are you not concerned by this? How does seeing this not trigger something in your head? Beep, 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 something's not right here. Beep, beep, beep. Look at that. Look at that big ass one. Look at how it's, that one with all the plumes. It hasn't moved. It's just spread out. I thought way the fuck up there, it was like the winds were really, really strong. And it was really, there'd be no way something like that could just sit. How do those things just sit there? How does that sit right there? It expands and sits there, yet all of this other shit is blowing past. Doesn't that, I mean, don't you question these things? I'm surprised the plane hasn't come here yet. Normally we don't get just one giant trail and then it stops for a minute. But I also like to believe that, especially if you're somebody that makes noise, you know, if they censor you, they're watching you. So if they start spraying like crazy, see if he does something cool for you. You know they're sleeping. Blows my mind, people who think chemtrails are contrails. Tornadoes almost look geoengineered. Fuck yeah, they do. Especially since they basically only happen in the United States. Do you understand how weird that is? 90-some% of the tornadoes on the planet happen in the United States. They just don't happen elsewhere. Why? Oh, it's because of tropical climates and dude, we have that shit's supposedly everywhere. We live on a ball, right? And around that ball, all around the ball, it's the temperature zones and blah blah blah, equator and all that shit, right? It's getting worser and worser every day. I don't even know. I don't know if it's getting worse. It's consistent. It's just consistently bad. I definitely can't say this is the worst day I've ever seen. I've seen other days, like there are days where it's just, it looks like you're playing a game of not asteroids, but Missile Command, where it's just those streaks over and over. You're like, what the fuck is that? I know people still tell me it's jet streams, condensation. It's crazy. It's crazy. There's a guy called Peter Mitch. So somehow there's this normal, not a government agent, not a part of the system, just regular guy that has this very vague profile with not pictures and information about him. But if you post chemtrails or talk about chemtrails, just about, he somehow pops up in your feed all like, hey buddy, obviously you're having a misunderstanding and I want to tell you about the chemtrails and why they're why it's just condensation. And you're like, dude, don't you have a job? How are you everywhere? How is it that no matter where you pop up? I see you all over, and you're telling me you're just this normal person who's made it their life's mission to stop people asking questions about the chemtrail? Because what, chemtrail people are so dangerous? When was the last time you heard about somebody doing something because of all the chemtrails? Now, granted, that's going to happen. Trust me, that's going to happen real soon. Probably now that I said something, it'll happen. There's going to be some crazy conspiracy guy, you know, does something stupid, and they're like, ooh, and they'll actually film that guy. Because they never show you the film of the people. You know, you're just supposed to go, oh, what did I tell you? What did I fucking tell you? So, am I just some sort of miracle? Like, how did I know that it was going to come right there? I pointed right there. That's what I was saying. I didn't say it was going to be over there. I didn't say it was going to be over there. I said it was going to come right there. And there it is, shadow intact. How did I know that was going to happen? Am I just some sort of psychic? Or is it that there's something else going on and I figured out their patterns? And if I can do it, and I'm just a dumbass, you're telling me scientists haven't figured this out? How did I know that was going to happen, guys? If you're watching this video, please share it. You're here because somebody else shared it. You're not here because Facebook shared it. Facebook does not share my shit. Why not? Could it be that I'm posting shit like this? Come on now. And I'm talking about it in a different way than everybody else is. All these floods and fires. All these floods and fires are engineered and caused on the coast. Agenda 2030. I don't know about Agenda 2030. I mean, again, I think if there's an agenda, it doesn't have a cute name that our dumbasses, that the Goyim dumbasses know. You know, we don't know about it. And I think Agenda 2020, Agenda 2030 is the distraction. As long as you think they're trying to do it for any other reason than they're trying to... Okay, so this is where my crazy ass steps in and says, okay, I think about things differently than most people do. So I think what chemtrails are, is a block, is to prevent us from being able to see. Because they screwed up and made ground-based telescopes a lot better than they should have. And people are starting to see things that they shouldn't see. And trust me, your telescope doesn't work the way you think it does. Like, telescopes are my favorite argument people have. Oh, dude, I could see it with my telescope. They don't really understand that you only have you have a very limited perspective. Humans can only see so far, right? Your telescope doesn't allow you to see further. It just magnifies the image that you're seeing so you can see it clearer. You're not seeing closer. You're not seeing, unless you have something with some sort of digital enhancement technology, like a Nokia 900, which its lens, its eye, can see further than the human eye can. So then that's why you can pull boats in with a Nokia that you can't do with a telescope, because your telescope only magnifies the picture. It doesn't it doesn't bring it in, it doesn't allow you to see further. But what ground-based telescopes are doing is they're starting to see a whole bunch of shit that don't make no sense. And they don't want us looking, because the last thing they want is for the people to realize they're on TV. We are part of the ultimate reality TV show. And the watchers are just that. South Park flat out fucking told us. As soon as we become aware that we're on TV, we're not fun to watch anymore. We may be fun to watch for a little while, but then people start acting like jackasses and not doing their everyday shows like the watchers want, and they start it over again. They upload the system wherever they want it to be, whatever year they want it to be. They erase memories, or they put in false memories and science and shit like that. And they just start it over again. This will sound way out conspiracy, but I've read and watched stuff on the military tech that shows they have stuff called smart dust. Right, smart dust. No doubt about it. Why? The idea that they don't is the conspiracy. When you start talking about what the military doesn't have, because you just know they don't have it, it's just impossible. I say this to people all the time. When I bring up the idea that we're just in some giant television show. First of all, I'll read the rest of the comment in a minute, but first of all, I'm saying this to a group of people that either A, believe that God just made himself and then made everything else, or B, the Big Bang, the singularity just sort of made itself, and then boom, everything blew into existence and then swirled into existence. The idea that C, that we are just the product of a much more advanced race than us, a much more advanced version of us, and we're just entertainment for that thing. We're entertainment and we're food. We provide lots of things. This is testing ground. This is all. If you if you were an advanced version of society and you needed to simulate whatever, you build a world that has, we're close to having organic computers here soon. We're close to doing lots of things. If you look at what they've been able to do with televisions since the days of the family gathering around the radio to listen to Little Orphan Annie, to now you can go to Walmart for $800 and buy a curved screen TV that's better than you can see. To think that in 150, 200, 300 years, they're not going to be able to build some sort of dome that, I don't know, maybe once you pass through the dome, you shrink down. And the domes aren't even that big, like Lisa Simpson said, or showed you. Just a more advanced version. A Truman Show type thing, but it's bigger, so we're all in it. And that's what your UFOs are. You know, they're fixing the dome, they're fixing the pipes, they're doing all that shit. Or they might be the UFOs that seem to fly where they don't give a shit. They just fly into government areas like we're coming to see fucking Netanyahu, you know. Come down, you know, and then you get the resistance groups that come through and they get chased by the government. To think that things are a giggity billion star light years away and all that shit, and they're somehow able to make it here. If the Earth is flying, if our solar system and our galaxy is flying through space at millions of miles an hour and blah, 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 there's no way they could get here. If they started here and they started their destination and they said, all right, take me to this place, by the time they got to this place would be long gone. Which is why they never went to the moon. Because if the Earth really travels around the sun at 67,000 miles per hour, as soon as they left the Earth's atmosphere, the fucking Earth would be gone. But they've also now extended the Earth's atmosphere to now encompass the moon because people like me were starting to ask that question. The TV show theory explains everything, dude. It explains it all. I answer the why. Nobody ever answers why we're here. Oh, we're God's creation. Oh, we just happen to be this accident from science. No. We're entertainment. There are cameras everywhere. You just can't see them because they're in a technology we don't have yet. Oh, that's crazy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so 200 years ago, and I use the same analogy over and over again. 200 years, you get beamed back right this second. Boom. All of a sudden, you blink your eyes and you're in this room with people 200 years ago. Smartest people in the room. They're sitting around some cauldron. And we just conjured up a magic spell that brought you here, time traveler. Tell us what it's like in your year. And you're trying to tell them about your average, everyday, boring-ass life. What you're doing right now. The fact you're watching me on Facebook. You have to explain to people 200 years ago what a Facebook is and how it all works. You think you could do it? You think if you got beamed back 2,000 years ago, or 200 years ago, with all the technology that they had of the day, the hammers, the nails, how long do you think it would be before you'd build a cell phone network? You, personally. You notice how when I start talking about shit like this, they tank it? Look at how hard people are trying to get to this feed. The number keeps climbing, but then they just cut it, slash it, bam. I need your help, guys. Share this video. You don't even have to leave. You can just click share and it'll allow you to share to groups, to invite people, do whatever you need to do. But understand there's a reason why it's happening when it's happening. You know, when I'm sitting here propagating how they can do whatever the fuck they want to me on Facebook and I'm censored and blah, 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 they like that. They like me talking about that. When I start telling you the truth about where you live, and it makes the most sense. You tell me how anything else makes more sense than that. That we're just in some TV show. Anyway, let me read the rest of that. Smart dust, which falls like rain or fog, but really they contain microscopic transmitters that attach to you and they fall and everything else. See, I have an open mind to different opinions and you have me intrigued. John, I just beg you to prove me wrong. You tell me how anything else makes more sense than what I'm saying. Use your basic human intellect. I don't think I'm some fucking genius. I'm sitting here just telling you what I think to be basic shit. Just look at it. How else does it explain Donald Trump? How do you explain the whole chosen thing? They're chosen, right? Instead of being chosen by God, they're chosen by the gods or just the producers. And then what they do, those same chosen, they just emulate the gods. They create their own Hollywood. Do you understand how weird it is that nobody knows the story of Hollywood? Hollywood, for all of you, right now, if I say to you, hey, where did Hollywood come from? You'll be like, wait a minute. How did Hollywood get to be what it is? You've never thought about that because you've never been encouraged to. Yet, with all the true Hollywood stories and all that other shit there's ever been, the fact that there's never been a story about Hollywood, how is there no stories about Hollywood? There's actually been a movie made about Hollywood. It was made, I don't remember when it was made. I think it was made in the 80s. And then it might even have been remade. And it's about how these 4 Jewish immigrants from the same basic 500-mile radius somehow immigrated to the United States, somehow immigrated then to California, somehow then had the capital to build undoubtedly the greatest weapon ever unleashed upon humanity. Ever. Undoubtedly. And you know, I guess we have the time. We should go into it. What do you guys think of that? Like, you guys know the story of Hollywood. How many of you actually know that story? Hands. Let me see a show of hands. The people that know the Hollywood story.
This is 30 calories.
It's crazy. And the thing is, you don't know Hollywood. You really don't. With the gay, all the anti-gay atmosphere. You know what's really scary to me? Is when you think about the fact that we know the bad guy system likes to work on cycles. They like their anniversaries. They like their funny dates. They like shit like that. You know? They're not very clever. I don't think the chosen are very clever. That's why we are so valuable. Because the average goyim cares about its brethren. And it doesn't matter whether you're chosen or not. And they're not willing to do and exploit and you know, they're not willing to sink as low as the chosen is to get where they want. So the chosen are given that mentality that, oh well, it's us and it's for the better of the whole and blah blah blah. So I don't care if I'm subjugating this or doing that or exploiting this or whatever. I don't care. It's for this. And we don't have that. We have the creative side. That's why they steal all our shit. You know? That's why they own everything and they control everything. But underneath, yeah, there's a lot of goyim creativity, I guess, on some levels. But you have to wonder how real that is. If you know about it, how real is it? But the story of Hollywood's just insane. The story of Hollywood should be like the greatest story of achievement ever. And this is where the song, I don't know what song it is. I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but one of our songs is about that. You know, if black people were, like, it's weird how you've been controlled into thinking certain things are bad and certain things are good. So when you're been mind controlled into thinking I'm sorry. When you think things like somebody's saying you and your people control Hollywood. And they're like, you can't say that, that's a bad thing. You go, wait a minute, what's bad about that? That's a really good thing, isn't it? If black people controlled Hollywood, they'd be like, look, we control Hollywood. We fucking got this shit. Irish people controlled Hollywood. They'd be like, the Irish control Hollywood. You'd hear it. But unless you're doing something sinister, you exploit it. You say, hey, look at what I did. You know, this is great. They pat me on the back. Right? But they don't. When you say they control the government, oh, we don't? Oh, that's terrible. Don't say that. That's a horrible thing to say. Why is that a horrible thing to say? Unless you're doing something bad, why wouldn't you want people to know that 2% of the population, a small 2%, was somehow able to overcome all of these tremendous obstacles that we've been taught existed for them, and all of the torture and turmoil that those people have suffered throughout the years and decades, and you know, these people were kicked out of 100 plus countries in the last 1,000 years. These poor, poor people. Nobody asked why were they kicked out? Why did they have such a bad reputation? But 2 to 4% of the United States population, right? How is it possible that 2 to 4% could end up controlling an industry like Hollywood? That's an amazing story. Did you know that 89% of the Senate and the Congress is Jewish? 89% controlled by 2 to 4% of the population who think those that aren't a part of their thing are no different than the beast. They're here to be led. They're here to be taken advantage of and to be, their toil to be taken advantage of. Israel is the main negative catalyst in this world. And yet, you're not allowed to say that. I can talk shit about Muslims all day long. If I talk shit about Israelis or Israel, the idea of it, that's a definite no-no. Why is that? But the story of Hollywood should be this story of triumph, of success, of success over persecution, out of persecution, I mean, it's the most incredible fucking story ever, and nobody knows it. Why? They like to brag about their accomplishments. Why don't they brag about this one? Because they don't want you knowing or talking about the fact that when we talk about how, Hollywood used to be so racist. Hollywood didn't used to be racist. The chosen that ran it were extremely racist. And refused to let black people, just like the chosen that ran sports forever. Back when the chosen were the biggest stars in sports, guess what? That's back when blacks weren't allowed to play sports on the professional level. Do you think that's coincidental? Do you think they knew something back then? Been sending one group of people to the gym for 400 fucking years? Starting to pay some dividends. Do you ever think about these things, or is it just, no, that's just conspiracy theory? You're just a crazy conspiracy theorist guy. You're just a conspiracy theorist guy. You don't do things right, guy. You don't see things right, guy. What's wrong with you, guy? Where's all your sympathy, guy? No, when you talk about blackface, the whole idea of blackface. Blackface wasn't because black people wanted it. Blackface wasn't because your average white Christian was opposed to it. It's because the chosen didn't want black people in their fucking productions. It's just that simple. And we're not allowed to talk about that. We're not allowed to say, hey, maybe those same people that immigrated out of the same area right now that's just decimating other brown people, maybe there's something to that belief structure that's wrong. Because those people seem to believe it's okay what they're doing. Because they're chosen by God. And it's amazing how being chosen by God means now is the time. God didn't want your people to be on top of the fucking hill until now. Now is when it's time to kick out the Palestinians. It's time to kick out the Syrians. It's time to, It's weird how God works like that. Even though it doesn't quite say that anywhere. But when you look at the history of things, these are the people that forever chose for black people to be subjugated. And it wasn't until they had to that they made the change. Now, let's talk about the advent of it, right? So, Edison's first movie. Do you guys know what Edison's first movie is? Look at how I'm down to 12 people now. I guess this subject isn't any good, or what is it? Do you think all the people that were watching all about the same time went, fuck this guy? They all left at the same time, or did they cut something? did they knock it back down? You really think people don't fucking have any interest in any of these things, any of these subjects? And not only do people not have interest in any of them, nobody's even, like, this is the internet. People don't just go, I disagree with this guy, I'm not going to engage. They disagree and they let you know how dumb you are and why they're smarter than you. That's what this thing is. So where's all the negative comments? If there's really no censorship, where's all the negative comments? But anyway, I gave you some time. Does anybody know what Edison's first movie was? Or the first thing filmed was? The official first film, the history-making first thing ever filmed on, you know what it was? 2 dudes dancing. Slow dancing. Doing a waltz. It was either Edison or another guy standing next to him playing the piano, I think. But it's 2 dudes standing there waltzing. That's the first fucking film ever made. Well, not technically. There's rumors that there was other things that was happening right around the same time, and Edison stole it, which would it really be that surprising? But because Edison wasn't nearly as brilliant as somebody like Tesla, but Tesla's the guy that's lost in history. And you know how brilliant the Tesla car thing is? So 100 years from now, when people talk about Tesla, because they tried to do it in the 80s. So they tried to keep Tesla out of the history books and out of our consciousness. But in the 80s, they were stupid about it, really. And they let that 80s band, they figured, man, maybe if we let this 80s band take the name Tesla, then that'll absolutely kill it. That way, in the future, if anybody looks up Tesla, they'll have the 80s band that comes up. And they were shit, but it didn't work. The Tesla name stuck around, and then the internet came, and people really started to rediscover Tesla. So what's their option? How do they kick Tesla out of the consciousness? Well, they use in completely unlicensed, I don't understand how Elon Musk was just allowed to call his cars Tesla. But Elon Musk gets $3 billion from the government. Just sort of appears on the scene. Oh, this is the smartest kid in the world. We're giving him $3 billion to change the planet. Hey, the rest of you need some money. Go fuck yourselves. Nothing coming out of that plane. So he comes up with this Tesla company that they're going to make fail. Eventually it's going to fail, and it'll be considered one of the biggest disasters of all time. They got to let it ride for a while so it takes over the Tesla name. And so now when you ask the average person, hey, have you heard of Tesla? They'll be like, the car? Yeah, it's a great car, but they won't even, no, the person. They'll be like, who? That's what they want. And in 100 years, the history books, when you bring up Tesla, it'll show this. And Nikola Tesla will disappear. They're brilliant. And they have time on their hands. Again, it's like the Queen giving a shit about Trump being there. He's a fucking 4 to 8 year annoyance. They got this. But Hollywood, so I don't even know the full story. I want to see the movie. I've been meaning to try to YouTube it. Because I really want to see it. But it's 4 guys come in and see, this is where, well, Edison's first film is the guys dancing. So gay was always this huge thing, but back then there wasn't a gay and straight. People just were that way. They were fruity, they were queer, they were whatever. They just didn't, there wasn't a gay, a homosexual thing. It didn't exist yet. Does your kids need scrap paper? So, for the first 20 so years of Hollywood, it's sort of like free range. You know, they can kind of do. There's no rules set. There's not even really. It's Hollywood land. It's not a. Movies are made all over the place. There's not the East Coast Hollywood yet, because everybody forgets that there's an East Coast Hollywood. West Coast Hollywood makes the big blockbusters. East Coast Hollywood puts on the news, and East Coast Hollywood is bigger than West Coast Hollywood. Because, you know, Hollywood takes all these blockbusters at millions of dollars to all this time to make these big-ass films and blah, blah. The news puts on a stellar performance every fucking day. Every day. Top-notch fucking... to the minute, to the second stories, breaking news. They got all the correct banners and all the correct visual graphics and all that. It's an amazing production that happens all over the place every day. Correspondents all over the world, supposedly. You know, it's just fucking amazing. But they get West Coast Hollywood kind of going. But back then you had stars like Fred Astaire and you had, you know, the big names back in the day. They're always these kind of fruity guys, especially back in the silent film days. Because just like it is now, the kids that are in the drama class, the kids that like to dress up in outfits and makeup and shit like that, that's not the macho kids that are out playing sports and, you know, all that. Those are gonna be your more effeminate kids, and since gay's always been here, it's always gonna attract the gay community. So the gay guys have always been there, and it used to be real bad because they would have to, like, they weren't allowed to be 100% gay. But back in the early days, it wasn't a big deal. And then in the 30s, just before, so there's this huge sort of shift that happens, and you can see there's these huge shifts that happen repeatedly throughout history. Or not in the 30s. In the 20s, I mean. And I was talking about it earlier about the cycles that they do, which is why it's also scary. Because one of their cycles is the 100-year cycle. And if you look at where the United States was 100 years ago, we were in a very similar position. We had a similar president. We had a similar economy. You know, things were very similar, and it was a prosperous yet scary time. And there were all these mini depressions that happened. Well, we're coming up on 29 here soon, folks. And if you don't have your shit somehow in order, you're going to be fucked. You're going to be fucked. Because they're going to do it again. But in the 20s, they introduced something called the production codes. Right when they know they're going to tank things and they know things are going to... Everything's planned out long ahead. Trust me. I suggest if you're not, and I know most of you aren't WWE fans, if you're not a fan of WWE, I don't suggest watching wrestling, but watching the behind the scenes stuff and how it all works, and, you know, just the thought that, you know, they know Hulk Hogan's going to win WrestleMania a year in advance. And they have all the dates planned out and all the storylines planned out a year, 2 years in advance. And maybe they adjust things on the fly for how society is leaning one way or another at the time. But they have their basic foundation planned out. And nothing is fake. And nothing is chance. It's all planned out, no matter what you think. If you think any of it's real, you're a mark. And it's the same thing with the government. That's why I suggest, you know, learning about WWE, because just to be coincidental, on Donald Trump's paid staff, one of his advisors on a secretive kind of level is Linda McMahon, Vince McMahon's wife. Why would Linda McMahon, WWE, be associated with the President of the United States? And everybody forgets that he was on WCW before, or WWE. I don't remember which one it was, but he was on wrestling before. Can't forget about that. But the production codes get introduced. And when the production codes get introduced, everything changes. They say, okay, no longer are gay men allowed to be featured. You're not allowed to hire gay men. There's this huge, just, it's weird that homosexuals have always sort of run things. I mean, J. Edgar Hoover was one of the biggest trans weirdos you'll ever meet. Real sick kind of weirdo guy. Not just a fucking, you know, a gay guy, but a real sort of deviant kind of guy. But the idea that there was all this, there's always been such a, how come gay has been so prominent in all of these institutions, be it media and government, yet the goyim are supposed to hate it. It's something bad for us. Like, it's just weird how that works out. Maybe because if gay was more acceptable, then you're more likely to get people to infiltrate the system because they'll be able to get, maybe, I don't know. But what they pass all these laws, all of a sudden it just happens like across the board. Again, Hollywood takes part in it, and it happens across the board. Where gay men are, if they find out you're gay, you get arrested, you get taken to facilities, mental health facilities. They deem it a mental, like what they're doing right now with the transgenders and all that shit. They're doing it. They did it back then, where they deem it a mental illness. They were lobotomizing people. They were castrating people just for being gay. Not deviants, but gay. Not fucking with children or anything. If you fuck with children, that's never been an issue as far as society is concerned. We don't go after pedophiles. We go after grown men that are having a relationship together. But they institute these laws in Hollywood saying that gay men can't even be in Hollywood. If they find out you're gay, you go to jail. So the beard gets introduced. And there's all these gay guys and all these gay women that are contractually owned by the system. You know, like Audrey Hepburn, I think, is one of them. That's a really sad story. That she's not Audrey. No, that's not it. I forgot who. A lot of those old famous, like, starlet women of the day that we all look up to, they were owned. They were property. They were like prostitutes. Lots of them had old Jewish husbands that controlled every aspect of their lives. And I mean, it's really fucked up. But there was all these beards everywhere. So Hollywood would set up these beard relationships. And gay guys and gay females would be married. And everybody knew it. But they had to put on the persona because that's what the government wanted. That's what, you know, supposedly the people want. And this is the 30s. At the same time, they're instituting these production codes and saying that gay guys can't be there, and you know, you got to do another thing that they were doing. So prior to the production codes, sorry, I keep jumping a little bit because I'm not a professional, and it all brings each other up. Prior to that, one of the first sort of real tests with Hollywood might even been one of the reasons why they sort of instituted it in the first place, was because they were doing the whole prohibition thing, and they were going to take away the alcohol, and because they wanted, you know, and when they did that, the biggest gangs, you don't hear about this. You don't even think about Jewish people in this regard, because they've created the Jewish nerdy stereotype. They want us thinking that they're these mild-mannered, nerdy, harmless people when they're not. The most ruthless of the gangs back in the early 1900s was the Purple Gang. They ran, Detroit was one of the hubs, because Canada was where the alcohol would come in, and then it would get distributed all over the country. Well, it comes through Detroit, through the Michigan area. And the Purple Gang was ruthless. Because one, They're chosen. They don't give a fuck. And two, the opposition are goyim. They're beasts. They can be killed. But see, again, we're talking about a time when, 7 gangsters being killed is considered the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. There were 13 fucking people murdered in Detroit. 13 shootings at least in Detroit last weekend. You didn't hear anything about it. You did hear about that Connecticut woman, though. For some reason, that story is much more important than the 13 people killed in Detroit. I wonder what the difference would be. Some rich Connecticut woman or 13 black people. Still. And I definitely called that last shooting. I told you the day before it happened that it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen that quickly, but it happened the next day. Or it might even happen that night. But what they did was they had... Hollywood, in order to facilitate the whole bootlegging mobster persona being okay, because they wanted people to accept their purple gang at first. They wanted people to think it was okay. So they make all these movies, and the other thing that they want to do is they want to shift the perception away. So like when we talk about the old mafias, the old gangs and stuff like that, we refer to them as mafias. That's why the purple gang wasn't the purple mafia, they were the purple gang. Mafia is Italian. But Hollywood creates the Italian gangster. Italians aren't these ruthless fucking people like that. The Chosen are. All they did was substitute the character. They made the ruthless Italian mobster, they changed him from the ruthless Jewish gangster to the ruthless Italian mobster, mafioso. And they create this stereotype. But what they do is they fuck up and they create the Robin Hood kind of stereotype. And at the time, it's gotten to the point where the people, because the people know, back then the people definitely knew a lot more about, we don't trust the Chosen, this, that, and the other. And sure, a lot of it was religious, but at the same time, there were wars going on. And people weren't as religious as they are now because they had seen and been through war and they understood how bad things got. But they create this Italian mobster to so people don't think, especially now, look at how well it worked. 100 years later, most people don't know about the Purple Gang. They don't know about the Jewish gangsters. They know about the Italian gangster, the mafia. But it backfires, and they create all this love for the mobsters and this hatred for the police for breaking it up, and they end up having to give the alcohol back. But one of the things in the production code was that the police always had to win. You could no longer make the movie about the good guy mafia. And when you understand that the government made that rule, they make these rules, the production code rules, saying you could no longer have gay men and that Hollywood abides. It shows you that they work together. It's just one thing. Hollywood doesn't say, hell no, we're not doing that, blah, blah, blah. We're standing up for ourselves. We're standing up for the right for these gay people. We're standing up, blah, blah. No, they don't do that. Okay, yeah, we got you. So they come up with these production codes, and at the same time that the production codes are dropped, the next big thing happens in Hollywood, which is Shirley Temple. And you know what Shirley Temple's first fucking role was? It's called Baby Burlesque. It was a series of videos about Shirley Temple being a burlesque dancer, a little 3-year-old, 4-year-old burlesque dancer, surrounded by other little kids pretending to be adults, rich men, and blah, 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 and all this sexual innuendo, and yeah, and Shirley Temple walking around in a burlesque outfit, and what could easily and would easily be considered child porn if you did it with a child today. It should be considered child porn passing Shirley Temple videos, selling Shirley Temple videos. I mean, it's disgusting. And I've ever since I was a kid, I had a problem with Shirley Temple movies. I never understood where the fascination with kids is. Why there's always these shows about single men living with kids. Old men who stumble upon kids and they become their surrogate. You know, the father figure who mother always dies. Disney loves the movies where the mom dies. They just hate women. And Disney was supposedly anti-chosen, but I don't know. Sure did get big, didn't it? You always have to, they're smart. They always have a couple of opponents, you know, hand-picked, controlled opposition opponents out there that you know, we're gonna show them that bring them up here and there and maybe talk about, or focus in on the stereotypes, which is something a lot of people like me can't get behind. So instead of focusing on the truth about it, they just God, I wish there was a cop there. Mark, what's going on? Instead of focusing on the truth, they focus on the stereotypes, which turns people away. I'm not that guy. I'm not gonna be fucking stereotyped like that. I'm not slurring people like that. But if you knew the fucking truth, the belief structure, things might be different. But the production codes come out, and they change the way the Hollywood landscape is done. So we still have gangster movies, but it's bad Italian gangster movies. And the production codes and shit, that shit lasts for a long time. A really long time. It's not until the late 70s, early 80s that some of those things really start falling apart. Maybe even the late 60s. But not all, but by far not all of them in the 60s. And it still exists to some degree. I mean, you have to understand, when people talk about, oh, well, why is there a BET? Why is there an NAACP? Why is it, you know, because they had to. You know, the affirmative action existed because study after study was showing that if you sent out 2 job resumes and one of those resumes, and they were exactly the same, the only difference was the name. One name sounded like a black name, and one name, and it was like you know, Michael Smith and Micaiah Smith or something like that. And Micaiah Smith gets 80% less calls. You know, time after time after time. They exist because they had to. And if you think you didn't get the job because some colored guy did who's less qualified, but they needed to meet their quota, you're stupid. Companies, if you're worth it, a company will bend over backwards to hire you. Sopranos was pretty good. Of course it was good. It's supposed to legitimize all that. It's supposed to, you're supposed to, like, isn't it crazy how all of a sudden in the late 70s, they start bringing out again the whole Italian gangster, but it's a much more romantic version of him. Everybody wants to be the Italian gangster now. They, you know, they live such good lives and they drive such cool cars, and they leave out the climb. They leave out the crime. You know, they don't show these people and their PTSD nightmares, and you know, it's disgusting. If I was Italian, I remember being in my 20s, and when I would hear Italians talk about how they hated the Italian stereotype, I'd be like, what are you talking about? That's crazy, blah, 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 blah. But then it was, as a man now, today, I totally get it. I totally get why they don't like that stereotype, because it's everywhere. Although, it's not the worst of the worst stereotypes, because at least that stereotype is a powerful one. You know, there's a lot more stereotypes out there that are worse. But then you get the McCarthy era starts coming in. So So what they're doing, at the same time they're instituting the war, they're bringing in their boy Hitler. You know, they're instituting the World War II plan that Pike talked about. They're also, you know, it's happening in Hollywood, you know. Oh, please, let me see it. It's happening in Hollywood. They you know, there's all these crazy ass Hitler videos, Hitler, you know, there's propaganda on the fucking craziest levels. And we're talking about, see again, like, this is a society that gives us the Jim Crow era of things is this acceptable time in society when you know, and the thing is, the stereotypes all still exist, but where they did the worst of the worst stereotypes with people. They did horrible things to people. They said horrible things about people. The Washington Redskins. The fact that it's 2019 and we still have a Washington Redskins and Atlanta Braves, you know, we still have these racial slur fucking teams because white people like it. No, we like it. We don't care if it bothers people, if you people want it. This, you know, by definition, you redskin, that's a fucking slur. The logos are offensive Jim Crow era fucking slurs. But white people like it, and Jews own it. You couldn't have anything even remotely resembling a swastika, you'd get in trouble. And the whole thing is, the whole fucking, like, again, we're getting there with a history lesson too. You know, we're and we're going into the 30s. We've got Hitler on the rise. 1938, he's Time Magazine's Man of the Year. You know, and look, nothing coming out of that plane. See all these planes? They loop, and then they go down south to the airport, 10 miles away. They don't leave the big streaks that go west to east like that over there. Car accidents seem to be a favorite way to get rid of famous motherfuckers who don't keep their mouths shut, such as Grace Kelly and Princess Diana. The mob is real in America. You can't just deny and say it's a stereotype. I don't think it's not that it's real. It's allowed to be. You know? That's what you're missing. The mob is a creation. The Italian mob is a creation. If they want it... Dude, where'd the Black Panthers go? So the Black Panthers supposedly started as a small group of people trying to feed a school program and also police their neighborhood from the police who were just abusing people on an insane level. But the Black Panthers got real powerful, real scary. What about the black Muslims? Where did they go? For a decade or so, that, you know, Elijah Muhammad was the scariest fucking guy white people could think of. And then they just disappeared. Malcolm X got taken out, and Muhammad Ali, and blah, blah. I mean, it was just... They buttoned the Louisville lip like they always promised they would. You know? Sean, what's going on? But the Italian mob wouldn't exist if they didn't let it. They weren't more powerful than the government system that it was. You know, the idea that the mob used to, you know, have all these informants that would live these lives gathering evidence. How much fucking evidence do you need? But the mobs were in existence because they wanted them to be. It took the heat off of things. And do you know how much shit gets blamed on the mob? But it's like, well, who did the mob connect with? You know? Same thing with like Frank White. You know, the whole heroin epidemic of the 70s. Anytime you talk about heroin in the United States, before we invaded Afghanistan and Iraq, Afghanistan produced 0% of the world's heroin. Now it produces 97% of the world's heroin. We have soldiers guarding poppy fields. But again, where do you think all the pain medication comes from? It's the same shit. But the only way heroin gets to New York like it does, gets to these states like it does, is through government contacts. The only way, what's the newest fucking killer? Why am I forgetting the name right now? Fentanyl. They act like oh my God, we're in so much danger from the Mexicans from the South. The South Americans are putting us in so much danger. The biggest epidemic drug-wise is fentanyl. That comes out of China. It comes through the mail. That's allowed to exist. I was with my therapist yesterday, and we were talking about this for a minute. I started talking about this, and she was like, no, I've seen the videos. I said, yeah, show me. You haven't seen shit. You think you have. You've been told you've seen videos. You have not seen videos. When they say they've apprehended 96,000 people in the last month, you need to show me. There should be an abundance of evidence of that, and there's not. Every time they show you something that has to do, you have to pay attention to the angle. So whenever they want to show you that something is where they want to show it off, they show you it from this angle, so you can see how many people and how much is going on. Whenever they show you some from the South Americans, the Mexicans, the camera's always down here. It's always at eye level with the Mexicans. And you know they're short as fuck anyway. And the Mexicans are always blurred out. They're blurred out like a giant square. Instead of just blurring out the face like they normally do with people, the whole thing is blurred out. Their hairdos. So when they keep using the same people over and over again, you can't be like, hey, I recognize that person. They just showed me that person. But every time they show you this angle, they can show you, like the news does it all the time too. Watch the news when they do the outside thing, right? Where they're like, we're outside in front, and we've got all these people whose birthday, woo, and everybody's on. When it's warm and shit, the camera's up high, and you can see how many people, you can see that it's deep. When it's cold, they'll have it real low, so you can only see that the fucking people they're the paid 30, 40 people that they paid to be there. They're freezing their nuts off. But they're standing there, smiley, and they're only 2 or 3 deep because it looks like there's a lot more people there. And the camera's down here. They do that with the South American shit all the time. We need a wall, we're getting invaded. Fuck you. Answer me why 89% of the Senate and the Congress has dual Israeli citizenship. You answer me that. That seems like much more of an invasion than what's happening with the people coming to pick some fucking strawberries and shit. I'm much more concerned with who's invading our government. Dual Israeli citizenship. You know who else? The government. You know who else has, how many other people have dual Israeli or dual citizenship in our government? Go try to find that out. Not many. I couldn't find any. So I'm going to say none as far as I found, but maybe you'll be able to find 1 or 2 that have dual citizenship somewhere else. No, that exists. Show me who. You see, is that some kind of dumb nonsense? Wait, who seems like a robot? Stepford West. Are you talking? Wait, what are we talking about? Who? We are in danger from the government. We all know, and the shifty Masons. I mean, I don't, when it comes to the Freemasons and stuff like that, that's distraction to me. That's something, if you and I know about it, it's not real. It's distraction. When my grandmother knows who Freemasons are, it's not. That's something, it's a brilliant thing. They hide out in the light, They have their There are lodges everywhere. Anybody can be a bottom 3-level Mason, and you'll think I made it to the top 3. I'm a third-ranked, third-degree Mason. You think you're big shit. Most of those third-degree Masons don't realize there's a bunch of other levels. It's done like that on purpose. Same as they show crisis actors at school shootings, right? Well, again, I can't tell you how creepy it is that I called the last shooting. So if you go watch my video from last Friday or Saturday, I can't remember which day it was, probably both, but last Friday or Saturday. Actually, it was both, because I remember saying, I was talking about this yesterday too. So Friday and Saturday, we're talking about the fact that I called the previous shooting, the previous shit. When the black hole thing got dropped on us, I called the church fire, and then I called, what was the next thing? Then there was some sort of race thing that happened after that, called that, and then I said, and then the other day, Friday or Saturday, I said, I don't really know what the next one's going to be. I just kind of feel like it's going to be something municipal. It's going to be something like at a bus terminal or something like that, where it's going to make people afraid to go to safe government type facilities. And lo and behold, at the municipal building, it wasn't the bus terminals, it was the municipal building, there's a fucking shooting. 12 people are dead. Or 13, is it 12 or 13? 12 people are dead and 13 if you include him, so he shot himself, so yeah, that's 13. Go figure, 13 people. And it makes you wonder, are they watching my shit and fulfilling what I'm saying? Or am I just on some weird wavelength where I'm picking it up? But if you watch my shit, I'm not like, I guess I'm kind of bragging, but more so I'm kind of freaked out by it. It's weird. How did I how is Guy Williams calling this shit and government scientists can't, government agents, all that shit? I called it. The church fire was one of the weirdest ones. Because I told you, look, they did the black hole thing to reaffirm that there's deep space and blah, 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 blah. But they have to do something now to balance. So they need to have some sort of religious thing happen that's going to unite people. Can't be a religious scandal or something. And they're not going to be able to pull off some sort of miracle, but there'll be something sort of tremendous that happens within the church. And the fucking Notre Dame fire happens. And it's exactly what I'm talking about. Within days, this insured building. So what had happened was, prior to 17 days, is it 17 days prior to? No, they took down 17 statues a week prior to for cleaning. They took down 17 of the thankfully, they took down 17 of the statues. And they were running into issues because there weren't any trees left that were of that same lumber and that were big enough because they'd cut everything down. So they couldn't repair the roof. They couldn't do it. So they were trying to figure out what to do. So they had a very, very, very controlled burn take place that eliminated the roof. They got all the shit they needed to out of it. They had all the trucks set up so it would burn in a controlled manner to where it didn't burn anything they didn't want it to. It was very contained. Everybody was freaking out. I can't believe how long it's taking and this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. Well, they had all that scaffolding and shit that had to get burned up. But if you look, there's fire trucks all around it spraying the rest of the building, making sure the rest of the building stays intact. And within a day, they're donated almost $1 billion to fix an insured building. $1 billion worth of fucking child molesting payments. That's all that is there. And nobody gives a shit, right? Or I'm just crazy, or it's conspiracy, or do. You name it. It's anything other than what I think it is, because I'm just some nutbag, right? How come being this big nutbag, nobody ever contradicts me? It's not like I'm lying. Nobody can say, no, you're lying. I was there. You didn't say that. They're, you know. It's getting a bit eerie. What you say seems to happen. Be careful. Yeah, it scares shit out of me, Brad. But so you can validate what I'm saying. It fucking happened. It definitely fucking happened. I gotta untangle my phone cord here. I'm having a weird flashback. Untangling my phone cord. I don't know, guys. See, I am glad, though, that there are people out here that can validate what I'm saying. Because I'm sure the average person's like, yeah, right, dude, you didn't say anything, but... Okay. I don't think I'm some clairvoyant anything. I think there's patterns. And I think it's just kind of easy to see the patterns anymore. Or... they're fucking I don't know, man. It's fucking eerie. Like you said, it's eerie. It's a good way to describe it. It's a very eerie sensation. I don't want my shit to come true. I don't want anybody to die. I don't want any negatives to happen. In my, ultimate fantasy, everybody's life is better. Except for the rapists and pedophiles. Because, see, we always sort of say it like you're only bad if you're raping children. No. If you're raping men, women, children, dogs, cats, whatever, if you're raping, that's not a fixable something. If you happen to be born with the rape gene, with the ability to have somebody pleading no with you, and you don't care, that's not something that can be taken away from you. And you need to go. Sorry. And if you're actually somebody that gives a shit about the world, you need to say, yeah, you know what, you're right, I'm a monster. I need to go, because there is no treatment. Yeah. There's no way you can put me in a situation where I'm going to find a child attractive. Just like there's no way, the child molester is going to stop finding children attractive. It's weird because again, this is one of those things where it's irritating to be associated with the truthers. Because you get these truthers saying, oh, look at them trying to forcefully indoctrinate you, telling you that pedophilia is just a natural orientation. It's, it's like straight. It's just, when people say it's an orientation, like being straight or being gay, whatever, that pedophilia is one. That's them trying to indoctrinate you. No, you dumb shit. That's them telling you the truth. When you're a pedophile, it's a natural thing. It's not something that's happened to you. It's not something that you choose. You're born with this weird fucking nasty adaptation that allows you to find children attractive. It was weird for me growing up is I was never interested in having girlfriends in elementary school and stuff like that, because to me, they didn't have boobs, and, we're kids. Kids shouldn't be doing that shit anyway, so, that's how I thought. And it's I never had a problem with liking little girls. As a matter of fact, and I've told this story before, I'm disappointed in myself and proud of myself at the same time. I was 23. There was a girl who was 15 who looked like she was 22, and she was part of a house that I frequented. You know, I hung out at all the time, and she was the daughter of this lady that, it was sort of like a family I had emotionally been adopted into because I was in California and I missed family and blah blah blah. Well, the 15-year-old was beautiful beyond belief. We used to say she had slow motion hair. She'd take her hair out of her ponytail and do that, and it would just move in slow motion. You know, everybody thought Ashley was one of those people that, with the right people around her, Ashley could have been an extremely successful model. But she was real fucked up in the head. And one day I was just over there, and she was like, "Hey, can you come here for a minute?" She was in her room, and I'm like, "Yeah, be there a second." And I came walking to the door, and she was standing there naked. And, it was really weird because she, as much as she was beautiful in the face and all that, she had young girl boobs, her nipples were puffy a little bit, and she just looked young. But, I was only 22, 23 or something at the time, maybe even just 22. But I was like, you can't do it, you put your clothes on. And then at another point later in that day, it was just me and her sister, who was like 13. But and me and the younger sister had like this just great connection. She was my little sister. I loved that girl. She was amazing. And not in any sort of weird way. But I knew it would break her heart if she saw anything happen between me and her sister. But I was going into the bathroom, or I was either going in or coming out, and the other girl was either going in or coming out, and when the door opened, she grabbed me and started kissing me, and we started kissing, and it was all hot and heavy, and I stopped, and I was like, okay, you sneak out later, and I'll pick you up, and we'll finish this. And she was like, okay. And we walk out of the bathroom, and like, we walked out with just enough time that the 13-year-old came out of her room and didn't suspect anything. Just enough time. Like, if we wouldn't have stopped, and if it wouldn't have happened, it would have been real bad. But then we're sitting there for a minute, and it just, like, reality came over me, and I was like, I can't do, what am I doing? I'm going to bring a little girl to my apartment, and what am I thinking? And I pulled her aside. I'm like, hey, there's nothing against you. You know you're beautiful. I just can't do this. I'm being a bad person doing this. And nothing ever happened again. When, I still hung out with them all the time. And as far as I knew, nobody knew. And nobody knows. They might know, I don't know. But I tell this story as a cautionary tale that, one, I'm proud of myself that I realized what the fuck I was doing. Thankfully, I was in a situation where I could realize what I was doing, where there were so many dangers around that the initial thing had to stop. And I was like, whoa, there's too many witnesses, basically. But I'm glad I didn't pursue it. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I would have pursued that. I'm really glad I didn't. But that's not a common thing in society. What happened to David Hogg and Emma Gonzalez and the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting? I don't even know what the fuck those are. David Hogg seems familiar. I think they'd take out Alex Jones before they'd worry about you. Why would they take out Alex Jones? Alex Jones works for them. Alex Jones doesn't say anything he's not supposed to. I don't think they'd take me out either. You take me out, then you have to, then you have my wife and 2 kids. that's going to be a drain on society, that's going to create 2 monster children. You know, it's going to create a woman who's very bitter, and, you know, nothing good comes from that. So you just shut me down. That's all they have to do. They just censor me and make it hard. Make it hard for me. Make it hard for you guys to view me, and make it hard for me to get out. So, one, it's hard for you guys to view me, so you quit. And when I don't get the views, I just get frustrated and quit myself, like anybody would. And that way you don't have to kill anybody. You just shut them down. This isn't the 70s. This isn't the 80s when they had to kill people that spoke up. Now they just shut you down. They emotionally kill you. You're left stuck feeling crazy, and you know, and you lose your family, you lose all your friends, you lose everything because you go against the grain. Yet the grain's going to continue. Your drive is going to stop before the grain stops. About to rain, I think. Wise choice. One of the wisest choices I've ever made. It bothers me how far it went. You know, it shouldn't have went as far as it did. But you know what's weird? And it's an acceptable thing when women say it. It's not acceptable for men. But I wasn't, you know, I was the halfie in a time when there weren't halfies, and in an area where it was very racist. There was a lot of old money bigotry everywhere, and you know, I didn't grow up with anybody. It's weird, you know. It's the same thing with marriage and with all of it. Women have been turning down sex their whole lives. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter, you know, especially if you're attractive. If you're attractive, you turn down sex every day, multiple times a day. You know, guys, we're not used to turning it down. We can shut it off. We can stop chasing it because we're supposed to. But especially once we stop chasing it, to then have somebody chase us, when the wife or the girlfriend doesn't chase. But to have a stranger chase you, or to have just a hot girl chase you when you're not, you know. Ashley was somebody that at 15 I could have never gotten. At 18 it would have been, you know, difficult, because Ashley, she was gorgeous. She knew it. She had, you know, it's weird that she didn't use it more, and it's weird to see where she ended up. But it's my wrist hurts a lot. It's a weird all of it. How are we all supposed to overcome the obstacles and the hurdles when you look at how difficult everything is? Like I said, guys are you know, one of the reasons we get married is because we think we find somebody that actually likes us and pursues us, and, you know, whatever. At some point later on, when you're married, and to deal with, like, for me, it wasn't like girls hit on me and I used to have to turn down girls in high school and all that. You know, or at least if they did, it's not like I ever noticed it. I was so insecure and just so, it's really weird. My mom provided financial security for me growing up. But as far as being a halfie, we weren't loaded, but we lived in the loaded area. Colton, what's going on, brother? We lived in a place called Northville. Northville is one of the richest communities in America. And we lived there, but we weren't one of those. She made enough money that we could live in an apartment, and I could go to those schools, and she thought that was a better thing. But when I went there, I was one of 3.5 black kids that went there. And the black kids that went there were either, there was two brothers that were big, fat guys that were, but they held each other's backs, and they'd been in this situation since before color mattered to people, But they also came from Detroit with reputations. And then there was another guy who was a big badass, and nobody'd fuck with him anyway. And there's me. And I'm like something nobody's ever seen before. And I'm 5'6", 90 pounds in freshman year. And we're not rich. And actually, the worst thing that happened was the girls liked me. Because I was something different. I wasn't this great-looking kid. I was just somebody different, something they'd never seen. And I wasn't ugly. And when the girls like me, that means the guys definitely don't. And they also grew up in households where people of color didn't matter. Very, very bigoted society Northville was back in the day. And it's weird to think about like how insecure I shouldn't have been, but how society created that. I can totally relate to the guy that anybody that like for me, for everybody else, you have somebody you kind of look like. So you can gauge how attractive you are based on, oh, you kind of look like Tom Cruise. Oh, well, thank you, Me, the only person that anybody ever thought I kind of looked like was Sinbad. And I can kind of see it, but he's such a goofball that it's not, especially he's so 90s goofball with his goofy high top and his fucking long earrings and his clearly homosexual but hiding it. It was always like, don't call me Sinbad. And Sinbad's obviously a halfie. His mom obviously slept with a big white man, or was raped by a big white man. Because the little bitty black guy that's said to be his father is no way his dad. But I never had that. And in my mind, Sinbad was goofy looking. So if you said I look like Sinbad, it was like, fuck. And I kind of see it, fuck. It took a long time to get over society's programming. I wish I had the mind state I have now, back when I was in high school, or not, it's not even just what I know now, it's just the mind state, where like, I don't give a shit. I like who I am. If you don't like it, oh well, I guess I'll fucking talk to my friends on Facebook. Sandra O'Connor says, who are you? Oh, well, here, let me give you a rundown. I think I'm in the middle of telling you who I am. Shh. Shut up and listen. God. Jeez. My hair is insane. I like my hair. I like the idea of the ions and the whole Native American aspect of it. All of that shit. But man, is it a pain in the ass all the time. And I've recently had it come to me that if I'm gonna have hair, why do I keep putting it up in a ponytail? If you're gonna have hair, let that shit out. Let it do its job. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Trying to figure it out. Putting myself out there. My beliefs, my thoughts, my ideas out there in the hopes that I can have. It's weird because I think at the end of the day, I hope somebody can show me where I'm wrong about just about everything. And what I'm gonna do now? Show me. I'm not maliciously confrontational. I'm definitely not just gonna go, oh well, you said something, so I should listen to that. But I don't know. It's always weird because people will say that. Well, dude, you asked for an opinion. Yeah, I asked for you to say something. Usually conversations go, I'll say something, you say something, then I say something, and you say something, and that goes back and forth until one of us has exhausted all of the bullets in our clip. And whoever runs out of bullets first, they go, oh, you know what? I hadn't thought about it that way. You know what? You're right. All right. And you move on. You go to the next thing. It's not that big a deal to be wrong. But most people think it's like, because I'm asking for opinions and shit, that means I want you to come on and say something, and then I'll just go, yeah, okay, you're right. I win. Or you win. And most things don't just exist in a one answer kind of plane. So if you think you can just give me one answer and okay, that makes sense, you're out your mind. Out your goddamn mind. It's nice out here. Yeah. Yeah, most things don't require one answer. Most things... Oh, look at that smell. It's the end of it, though. The cherry blossoms have pretty much all fallen off, so you just get that last little hint of it. It's real frustrating trying to have conversations with people all the time. It's frustrating to because nobody's ever willing to give in. And instead of going, oh shit, I hadn't thought about it or whatever, they'll just say something stupid. Or they'll go in a different direction. And it's like, well, wait, we were just talking about this thing. Address the thing that we were just saying. Don't bring up something else. I never understand why people have such a hard time admitting that they might be wrong about something. You don't have any personal stake in like 90% of what you believe, what you do, you don't have any personal stake in it. It doesn't affect your life anyway, or there's no benefit to continuing to believe that way. There's no loss. I mean, it's weird. It's weird how people take ownership over certain things, and the whole American pride bullshit pushed on you. Or wherever you're from, civic pride in general. You're supposed to be proud of the place that you happen to be born. And it's funny too, but you also have to understand places like Australia, where they were told they were less than forever. You understand where they go, no, we're not less than. I'm proud to be who I am. Like, it's weird. Same thing with black people. As much as I think civic pride is stupid, I get it. Racial and civic pride are stupid. I get when, your father, my father, remembers a time when it wasn't okay to be black. You should be ashamed to be black because you're less than. You're less than a man. 3/4 of a man or whatever. Like that. That's you can understand why people would, say no, black is beautiful, black pride. I'm proud of that. And it's always weird to me how you get I don't understand what it is. I do, actually. I think racism is 100% associated with the big black guy scary dick thing. The big scary black guy dick thing, I guess. Because I don't, I can't think of anything where white people, like any real reason why white people would be scared of black people. Racism is fear. So what could white people in general fear from black people to the point where they've created such a racist environment? It's not like they're scared that black people are going to rise up and take over government. Obviously, black people dominate physical sports, but white people make all the money off that. So, what do you think it is? To me, it's that ingrained notion that every single black guy has a huge horse cock, and that somehow you're dumb, less than second-hand or second-class citizen woman who can't think for herself and who isn't responsible for herself when she gets drunk and isn't responsible for her bad decisions and stuff like that, because she's just a girl. We push that mentality all the time. And you see this it's bullshit. It's just bullshit everywhere. And you see this idea that your dumb woman's going to fall victim to the black guy's charms, or he might just rape her. Either way, once she's had that big black horse cock, your little white dick will never be good enough. And it's this stupid myth that permeates society, and I think that's where racism's based in. Because at the end of the day, the average white guy isn't worried the average black guy is going to take his job, or he's going to, do anything other than not just fuck his woman, but her mentality, because she'll always be thinking of that black guy. You'll never stack up and all that shit. Never occurs to people that she probably had more than one big white horse cock. It never occurs to people that not all black guys have big horse cocks, and that there's a good chance she's had a white cock that was just as big as the black cocks. But the thing is, your woman's not supposed to have multiple cocks. She's supposed to be a good girl who never did any of that shit. She's supposed to be everything you want her to be, but never have practiced. We're just so stupid. white Christian male dominant society we live in, the white insecure Christian male dominant society that we live in is just overwhelming. What's up? What's up, Happy Squirrel? I love the Happy Squirrel. Maybe white girls aren't meant to hook up with white girls. What? Was the ATF out of line? Waco, Texas. Thoughts? Yeah, fuck yeah, they were out of line. Fuck yeah, they were out of line. If you watch an independent account of that story, not the official government account, but you'd be like, wow, that's some fucked up shit going on there. Could have been handled much differently, that's for sure. And when, the analyzation of the bullet fire, of the trajectories and all that, showing that it's all ATF, it's just an ATF murder spree. It's pretty much what it is. Maybe white girls aren't meant to hook up with black guys, is that what you meant? Well, I resemble that statement. See, I think another one of these guy theories, but I think miscegenation is the key to evolution. When I look at me compared to the average white kid that I knew growing up, there were exceptions to the rule, but the average white kid was doughy, was shorter than me, wasn't as fast as me, wasn't as smart as me, couldn't jump as high as me, couldn't, all of it. I don't get sick very often. When I do, I kick its ass. I'm probably gonna get sick now because I said that, but I got 100% on my MEP test, in 4th grade, the equivalency tests or whatever, the Michigan, they take them all over the place, but in Michigan they're called MEP. I got 100% in math and reading, and 97% in science. I missed like 1 or 2 questions in science, but I got a letter from the fucking state and all that. I can do anything. I could. Back in the day, I could do any sort of physical activity you wanted to do. I could do it and excel at it. I could learn anything. I could, all that shit. And they say that dogs are actually the closest association genetically to humans than anything else on the planet. More so than even apes. Because dogs are adjustable like humans are. Dogs are the only thing that are as adjustable as humans. Dogs are the only other species that you can take, different breeds and create something new. Or you can standardize the breed or whatever it is. You can, humans, you can do that too. And they're the only species that you can do it so quickly. It only takes 1 or 2 applications to completely alter somebody. So you can take a black person, have them sleep with a white girl, have that kid then sleep with a white person, and you have somebody that you'll never... Like my kids. Fuck it. I'm a halfie. My wife is a Greek. 100% Greek. So, which is crazy because, well, you get my kids that you would never know they were black. But I think when it comes to genetics, the more you break the genetic codes, the better the product is. So, like, all these people that, one of the things they teach us to do, and one of the things they do, is inbreeding, basically. You're supposed to be with your own kind. So, if you come from, like my wife, who's 100% Greek, so at some point down the line, there's cousins getting married. And they get closer and closer as the further you're gonna run into different layers. So eventually you're getting genes crossing. You're getting inbreeding. So my wife, who happens to be Greek, she comes from one of the most powerful groups of people on the planet. She's extremely intelligent. For her size, she's really strong. She's really fast. But her grandmother has macular degeneration. I guarantee my wife's gonna have it. She's strange. She has those double jointed arms where if she pushes her arm out, her elbow extends in. You know, she has genetic flaws to her that are product. Like if you were breeding dogs, you would snuff those out, especially if you were going to breed them with another of that. You're trying to get a purebred. So if you were going to breed a Greek with a Greek, you wouldn't want to breed somebody with those traits, somebody who needs glasses, somebody who, whatever. But when it comes to us, you get, like with me, so my mom is German and her family's Polish, and her father's Polish. Her mom is Polish and her dad, her mom was German and her dad is Polish. They probably, and actually, my grandmother comes from the Transylvanian Alps portion of Romania, so, who's to say what's what? But the idea that those lines crossed, maybe they did years back, but you get some pretty strong stuff with my mom. You get that strong Polish, stocky body and whatnot, and you get the German strong, powerful people in the scheme of things. People that everybody knows of. There are plenty of people on the planet that I could say the country of origin and you would have no idea what the fuck it is. When you say Polish, people know. When you say German, people know. So you get those two that came together to make my mom, she has genetic things, bad eyes, freckles, stuff like that. But she's also very intelligent. She has some great qualities. Well, what she does is she marries a black guy. And her parents are straight off the boat. So when she marries the black guy and has kids with the black guy, there's no chance that my dad's long lineage in the South mixes with my grandmother or grandfathers from Germany or Poland. They just don't. Huh? Did you get that? Did you get my money order?
Shit, no. I gotta go.
Give me a kiss, fool.
I got a piece so bad.
So go pee. I'm not holding you back.
I gotta show you what,
So then, you get... Cool. Okay. I'm sure she has enough to do. She doesn't want to write another journal. I know.
She loves journaling.
Oh, okay. But you get me. When you get those two to come together, you get me. And then you get me with my German, Polish background and black background and my 100% Greek wife, who, again, there's no chance of the mixing of lines there. Those Greeks were real specific. So then you get all the good traits from the Greek side, all the good traits from the black side, all the good traits from the German and Polish side, and you get my kids. The second one, the first one is physically one of the strongest kids I've ever seen in my life. The second one is more flexible than anybody I've ever seen. He has the double jointed like my wife, except my shit corrected the arm thing. So his arms don't stick out the wrong way. His arms remain strong if he falls. That little adaptation, that little snapping of the genetic code fixed that genetic flaw. Genetics is a huge thing in rich circles. They might say they don't do eugenics and genetics and all that shit, and they fucking sure do. We're just not privy to it. But trust me, when they find specimens they want, those people disappear. They take what they want from those people, move on. This is an amazingly successful TV show / farm / testing ground. Test out your medicines, test out your different things on us. And you don't have to use it on your own fucking population. Wouldn't you? If you had a big giant system that resembled humanity, but it didn't really matter because they weren't really real. You know? Who's to say with our size, because we're in these tiny little domes, that in our existence, our 100-year existence at most, it's not a 10-day existence in their world because they're so much bigger. You never know. It's entirely possible. And for those that don't think it's possible, it's like, okay, well, go believe in Jesus then, because that's much more possible, right? God came down, impregnated himself with himself, so that he himself could kill himself, so that he could die for his own sins, because God is all of us, and blah 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 blah. Just come on, it's just so stupid. It's just so stupid. It's an obvious facade. It's obviously fake. If God gave a shit about it, like for anybody out there that has children, if you knew they were getting molested and you had the ability to blink that shit out of existence, what father out there wouldn't just blink, blink? Okay, that no more molesting. Blink, blink. Everybody knows that if you cross that barrier, if you cross the line, you're too old to be having sex with somebody that's too young. Especially if, somebody's under like 13, 14. I mean, you can't, 13, 14-year-olds are going to have sex with each other, but 15, 16-year-olds are going to have sex with 13, 14-year-olds. It's going to happen. But they can't have it. But when you're talking about a 20-year-old having sex, if you're 10 years older than the person you're having sex with and they're still under a certain age, you get a heart attack. Blah. First one's a mild heart attack, knocks you on your ass. The second time, that's it. You're getting a super heart attack. No, the second time, it's pretty bad. Third time, you're done. How many people you think would do it? Well, I know I got one time, I'll get away with it. No. Crazy. My ex was British. We had 2 kids. They are Australian or English. Are they Australian or English? I don't know. They're white, and they come from down the line. There's a chance that it's only a few hundred years ago that those British people were those Australian Brits were part of the British society. So it's not too far back that you have to go that your lines might cross, but you never know. I know, Colin, I'm crazy as hell. And what I'm saying doesn't make more sense than all the bullshit that you're taught. See, the thing is, I've always been a history guy. I've always been a information guy. So when it comes to all the shit that you believe, I used to. I believed it, I knew about it, I looked into it, I researched it. I would have argued against what I'm saying now. Well, I would have tried, maybe. Even 5 years ago in a lot of cases. Especially when it comes to earth shape, I wasn't willing to give up the round earth 5 years ago. But it wasn't until I looked into it and I realized, well, as arrogant as you might think I am, when I see something I can't answer, I go, oh, well, guess that's not true. I guess what I believed isn't true if I can't easily answer, the questions this thing provides. If this thing makes me feel foolish, well, obviously I missed something. I don't ever have any sort of religious conversation whatsoever where A, I want to be religious, or B, I'm like, oh wow, I fucking hadn't thought about that. That's crazy. Oh well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should reconsider things. Never, and I'm open to it. It just, there's nothing ever said. Mark, what's going on? Look, they knocked us down to 5. Well, that's fine. I'm gonna jump off anyway. My wife's gonna want her phone back, so I appreciate everybody coming in. I've been talking for a long time. So hope everybody has a great day, and don't forget to grab your free download, www.the-bilderberg-group.com. This is a video. This video is a great example of what happens when you guys share, at least for a little while. Once the sharing stops, well, the number drops. Go figure. Pops. See ya.